Hello Copic fans, welcome to Copic in the Craft Room. My name is Michelle Houghton and I'm going to be showing you a fun different technique today. I'm going to be creating a paper bead that can be used in jewelry making. I'm going to be using my multi-liners and I'm also going to be using some Copic sketch markers. And then I'll show you how to create that bead, and then if you wanted to you could create more and put them into a necklace, earrings, bracelet, or attach it onto another project. So grab maybe 2 or 3 sketch markers, a multi-liner, your favorite Copic cardstock, and if you want, a straight edge. Other than that, you're ready to go. I am super excited to show you this next little tutorial. We are going to do some doodled beads that are hand colored with Copic markers. These are literally made out of paper. They are rolled up super tight. They are all handmade. So all of the big beads you see on this necklace and this bracelet and these little earrings to go with, all of these were handmade with paper and a Copic multiliner and Copic markers. So that is what I'm going to show you how to do today. The actual coloring part is fairly simple and fun. You can pick a design that you like. What I'm doing on each one of these, I specifically made a point with each set, like this kind of mint green set. All of the beads are a different pattern. You could make a set where all the beads match. That part's up to you, but I'm going to show you how to make the beads. So scoot those out of the way so you don't get a mess. I am working with a sheet of Express blending card, and I don't need very much. I'm actually only going to use a very tiny amount. So I'm going to create a line along one edge, and then I'm going to give myself, let's see, I'm going to do a bigger one today. So I'm going to do one of these, I think 3/4 inch beads. So I'm going to create 2 lines, and I'm going to need my straight edge for that. Now I want the edges of both of my bead. I want both edges to end up black. So I am going to actually use, I can use a wider multi-liner, or if you have a brush multi-liner, I'm going to come in on this very edge of the paper. And I really only need about 2 or 3 inches. So I'm going to create a black line right along that edge. And then I'm going to lift my ruler up. This is a clear one, so I can literally, I don't have to do any measuring. I'm just going to line up my 3/4 inch mark with the edge of my paper. And then create a second line. Now it's a little bit wider. I want it to be a little bit wider. I could use like a Sharpie or something else, but because I want to come back and use Copics when I do my coloring, I want to make sure that that marker is Copic friendly, so those multi-liners are your best bet. You can use like a 0.5 or something that's a little bit wider and just go over it a couple times. That part's up to you, but you want a little bit broader line for the edges of your bead. I'm going to close up now, and I'm just going to create a doodle. I've got my lines drawn. These are 3/4 inch apart. The distance isn't super important. What you want to do is just know what that distance is so that when you do your next layer, because we're going to also have some black cardstock when we make our bead, you want to know what this measurement is so you can make that slightly bigger. I am now going to switch over to my multi-liner, and I'm using a 0.5, so it's a little bit broader tip. It's nice and sturdy. I am using an SP multi-liner. It just means that I can refill the ink and refill the nibs, but any multi-liner is going to work. You could even do these in color if you want, but I'm going to add color with my Copic sketch markers. So I'm going to do one of my favorite patterns, and that is a spiral. And I'm going to fill in about 2 to 3 inches, but no more, of these tight little spirals. I have my tight little pattern, and really there's a couple different ways to think about coloring something like this in. You can go in and literally try to color teeny tiny details. I'm gonna do it in a broader sense, and so I'm gonna use a series of blues. This is a series that I like. It's the B60s. I've got a B60, B63. I've got B66 and 69 here as well. I'm not sure how dark I will get. I'll kind of play that by ear. But I'm gonna fill it in first with my B60. Notice I'm just filling in the whole area. While the ink is still wet, I add my B63. I'm starting at one corner on each spiral and just adding a small swoop of color, so one side is shaded. Then I switch to B66 and add smaller amounts in each of those spirals again. I'm really just touching small amounts of color, not a lot. Lastly, I switch to B69 and I touch in on some of the areas that I know are behind. So it's the small spirals that are peeking through from the back to push those areas further back. So this is step one. I'm gonna go ahead and cut this out. I've already got my black cardstock. It's cut to 1 inch, which you can see is slightly wider than my bead is gonna be. My goal is to cut right down the center of that black line. And then you can see what's gonna happen. This is gonna sit on top of this when that bead is created. The other thing I'm gonna do, and I actually did not do this on my originals, but I wish I had, is I'm gonna just touch the edge of this paper with my black. I could even do it with my darkest blue. And then before I try to curl this, I'm gonna round it just a little bit. So I'm gonna run my finger behind it. Because the next thing I'm gonna do is wind these super tight. So I'm gonna back the camera out so you can start to see my workspace a little better and show you these next steps of making this bead. All right, so I trimmed this my doodled piece down a little bit. I've got my black one. Let's see, this is about 6.5 inches. This is about 5 total. We can adjust that. We can always cut it shorter. But what I want to do is I want to curl these super tight. So I've taken a wood skewer, a coffee straw or stir straw would work great. And I'm going to curl these up, trying to keep them kind of in line as tight as I can. Once I get going, I don't need that stick anymore. So you can see really tight at this point, and I released it and it kind of unwinds a little bit, but really tight. I'm gonna do the same with my black. All right, so I've got 2 curly cues. So I am gonna start with my black, and I do want to have that skewer width. So I'm gonna start with my black, and I'm gonna go ahead and start wrapping it around that skewer again as tightly as I can. And I wanna make sure those edges kind of stack up nice and neat, that they're not kind of undoing to one direction or the other, so that I have a flat edge. Then what I'm gonna do, holding this tight, because I wanna keep it nice and snug, I am going to add some glue to about the last inch or less of that flap. I'm going to try this Glue by Express. I haven't tried it yet, so we'll see how that does. Again, trying to hold it tight as I can. Fold that back in. I might get a little glue on my fingers. I'm okay with that. But pinch and hold. You can see probably this will still go straight through. I need that gap if I'm going to create jewelry out of it. And wonderfully, like most craft glues, I can hold that for a few seconds and it is adhered pretty well. So my next step is I want, and this is the thickness I've got going so far. It's just a hair over 1/4 inch right now. And that was with a 6-inch piece of black cardstock. So this next one is my colored one. And what's gonna happen is it's gonna wrap on top. It's gonna add some thickness. And the part I want to show is that doodled part. So I wanna make sure that comes around at the end. So I'm gonna start with a little glue. And this is on the white portion that I haven't colored. And as best I can, I'm gonna center that right on that black bead. And I'm gonna start wrapping on top. Again, I'm kind of watching to try to make sure it stays pretty straight. I don't have little edges sticking out. And then same thing, as I get to the end, I'm gonna add a little bit of glue. You can see I've still got a hole running right down the center that I can string and I can add other beads to. The last step that I did, and I'm not gonna actually do this, but I'll tell you about it. The last step that I did is when I had several beads done, I stuck them right on my wood skewer. And I actually balanced it like on a jar or a bowl, so it's kind of sitting up on a couple edges. And then I used a decoupage medium. I used this particular one, the Collage Page, but you can use any decoupage. This one has a glossy finish, and that's why I like it. And I actually did a glossy finish over the entire exterior of the bead, right up on those black edges. I also got the ends just a little bit, but was really careful that if I got onto that skewer that I made sure the bead was still not stuck to the skewer. So I decoupaged or put a glossy finish on this. You could actually do that with a spray finish, acrylic finish, but any sort of clear coat that has some shine to it is gonna add just a little bit of sheen and it makes it look more like a clay or glass bead. But this is a really fun, easy way to enjoy your Copics in a whole different way. So I hope you'll try it out, make a few beads, even if you did it as a craft with some of your kids or a friend. This is a fun idea. So thank you for joining me today, and I hope you go out and have a very colorful day.